Hey there, outdoor enthusiasts, and welcome to Everything Outdoors. If you are looking at the portable Yamaha F6, then this video is for you. Today, I will be doing an overview of my 2021 Yamaha F6 SMHA outboard motor. Overall, I love the reliability of the Yamahas, and with a dry weight of only 60 pounds or 27 kilograms, I think that this one is a winner. Hopefully, you can learn something from this video, as I'm really trying to jam a lot into not a lot of time. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Okay folks, so here we have my F6 without the cowling. Cowling has been removed. Throttle here is not spring-loaded. I wish it was spring-loaded. Some of the other Yamahas are. We have the throttle friction nut, and we have the orange arrow on it for starting the motor up. You want to align that with the notch in the throttle handle itself. Oil cap and dipstick with the side view glass for viewing whilst in operation. Engine oil capacity and type sticker. Coming over the top of the motor, we have the pull cord with emergency starting instructions. Also worth mentioning that I've only had this motor for about 6 months now, and it kind of still breaking it in. And so far it's been great. Throttle and throttle cable, opening up the carb to allow for intake and acceleration. Over here we have the cowling lock lever. Sturdy carrying handle. And another metal carrying handle, making it surprisingly comfortable to carry this motor around. This is kind of a diverter valve for shutting off the fuel. We'll get into that a little bit later. Turning the motor back around here, we have the steering friction adjuster. And on the right-hand side of the shaft, we have the trim lock lever for raising and lowering the outboard, for shallow water drive and so on. Looking down a little bit lower, we have the trim rod. You use this obviously to set the constant trim level of the motor itself. It's extremely easy. I mean, as you can see, I'm doing it one-handed here. You just don't want to drop this thing in the water. So here we're going to cycle between neutral and reverse. And as you can see, it lowers this tilt mechanism. It's a tilt lock mechanism, and this prevents the motor from lifting up out of the water when the motor is thrown in reverse. We're going to lower the motor. Coming up, looking inside under the cowling again. As you can see here, we have a mini fuel filter with the primer bowl just to the left of it. For the internal tank, obviously. As you can see here, as I shake the motor around, you can see the gas level in there. I've done about 5 kilometers. That tank was full, and it's down to that level. So probably 0.8 of a liter gets me around 5 kilometers on the rig that I'm using it on. Here we have this is for your external fuel tank. I usually just keep that covered. I don't use an external. Here's your safety lanyard. I mean, you don't want to use this thing without putting that on. Always test it before you get in the water each time. It's always a good idea. Your choke, your kill switch, and now this is the diverter valve for shutting off the gas. To the right is no gas. To the front is internal tank. To the left is external tank, and here are your clamps for mounting your motor to your boat. Now, as for placing your cowling back on, there's a couple of things you should look out for. You want to make sure that the rubber seal that is around it, the gasket, is in good shape. you want to ensure that that rubber gasket is seated correctly. And there's a little clip at the front of the cowling, which you can see here. At the moment, it's pushed out from the motor, and then it's pushed back in. Now, you want to be sure that you seat this all the way back. This clip needs to be fully seated and fully engaged. If this is not, you could actually crack the cowling when you clip it back on like so. If you don't seat that clip correctly, is that you can actually crack the cowling. That happened to an old F25C of mine, and you don't want to get into that situation. So looking at the lower end of the leg here, we have the exhaust pipe, and here we have the sacrificial anode. So generally, these are made from manganese or magnesium. On the lower end of the electrolytic chart, very important to check it once in a while. If it's corroded and barely anything left, then get it replaced ASAP, especially if you're using a motor in a saltwater environment. Essentially, this will be the first metal to corrode under the electrolytic action between dissimilar metals. If the anode is gone, then the next weakest metal within your motor will be attacked, all governed by the electrolytic chart. So just educate yourself a little bit on this, but basically if that little galvanized colored plate corrodes, your motor is in trouble. You want to get it replaced. This is the stock propeller that the motor came with. I'll do a little freeze frame on the details there for you. There's a drain plug to the right for the gear lube oil. And here we have the, you can see the cooling water inlet. Just below the cavitation plate, the anti-cavitation plate, I should say. And according to manufacturer specifications, you always want to have this cavitation plate between 0 and 1 inch beneath the bottom of the boat. Okay guys, so this is how I transport my F6. It's in the back of my RAV4 here. You can see it's lying down on its side. Technically that tiller handle should be another 90 degrees back, facing towards the back seat of the vehicle. Here's the carry handle. It's laying on the tiller handle side. You can lay it on the other side too with the gear shift lever side. There's that valve again to show where your supply of gas is coming from. You want that in the off position, so that's to the right as you're looking at it for transportation. Coming up around the top of the cowling here, you can see the gas cap, and there's a little cap on top of the gas cap. You want that closed. That's your air vent. Gas could actually leak out of this if you have it in the open position, and you do not want fuel in your car, especially when you're in there with kids. So here's a quick little overview of the vessel that I use with the F6. It's a Clipper 16.5 foot Mackenzie canoe. And if you guys want me to do a video on this later on, just let me know in the comments down below, and I can do a full review on this canoe. It is pretty cool, and it has an incredible weight rating, load limit on it. You can see that it's a 16-foot 6-inch Max Sport, and this thing just cuts through any chop, especially with that motor. And having the bow trimmed up a little bit, it just absolutely no issues. You can see underneath here, there's a seat at the front. This is how I transport it on my flatbed trailer, and I've never had any issues transporting it this way. I bought these little foam blocks from a local canoe supplier, and they work great with the straps. You can see we have a square transom end, so it's perfect for an outboard motor. Okay folks, as promised, here is the Clipper Mackenzie 16.5 foot with the F6 going flat out. 2 adults, 2 kids, fully loaded. We are still approximately around 300-400 pounds below the max limit of the Mackenzie. And yeah, just having fun on the water, so enjoy.